Napoleon famously struggled for reliable allies throughout his time ruling France. Many of those that stood by him did so out of fear or out of opportunism. For example, Spain had been a close ally of France since Napoleon first took power in 1799, and it had remained loyal throughout the numerous continent-spanning wars thereafter. Yet in 1808, Napoleon decided that Spain's friendship was no longer needed and he invaded the country, deposing its rulers and placing his brother on the throne, which caused a whole lot of problems and was partially responsible for France's later defeat. So why did Napoleon do this? Why did he betray his old ally and invade Spain? So, Spain and France had been allies since the War of the Spanish Succession, during which the French had successfully seen the Bourbons take the Spanish throne in return for Spain losing a bunch of lands elsewhere. As a result, the two nations had shared interests, with the brief exception of when France got rid of its own Bourbons, which made those in Spain somewhat nervous. After Napoleon rose to power and established the First French Empire, Spain was quick to side with him in his struggles against, well, everyone. While Spain was an ally of Napoleon, it wasn't exactly an enthusiastic one, and losing its fleet at Trafalgar in 1805 meant that trade with the New World collapsed, which made Spain much poorer. King Charles IV wanted to appear a close ally in case Napoleon won, but wanted to remain somewhat distant so that if he lost, Spain wouldn't be punished too. His main hope was that Napoleonic victory would see Spain gain British and Portuguese colonies overseas. As Napoleon's power grew, the Spanish formalised plans with Napoleon to invade Portugal, which would see Spain gain this territory. The problem for Spain was that Napoleon had plans of his own. Whilst he wanted to force Portugal into submission as a bargaining chip to force Britain to make peace, he also wanted to capture Spain for himself. The army he sent to Portugal was going to sit on Spain's flank and help invade when he decided it was time, and that time came in 1808. This war was very unpopular in Spain, and allowing atheist French troops into Catholic Spain caused riots, which led to Charles and his chief minister Manuel Godoy fleeing, thereby making Charles's son King Ferdinand VII. Ferdinand was popular with the Spanish people and much more difficult for Napoleon to control. As such, Napoleon invited him to chat, where he was taken prisoner and Napoleon's brother was put on the throne. Once French troops were mostly in control, Napoleon was quick to expand France at Spain's expense. In 1812, Catalonia was annexed because it meant that he could use the anti-Madrid sentiment there for his own aims. The theory was that by making Catalonia an autonomous part of France with greater rights for the Catalans living there, the population would prefer this to their inclusion in Spain, and so would loyally fight for Napoleon. In practice, they just shot at French troops and made things very difficult. The invasion required a massive number of troops and importantly forced Spain to side with the British, which led to the Peninsular War. This turned into a quagmire for Napoleon, who had to commit hundreds of thousands of troops and spend lots of money to fight. These troops could have been better used elsewhere, and this betrayal of Spain is considered one of Napoleon's biggest blunders. In 1813, Spain was liberated, with Ferdinand returning to the throne, and thereafter Spain would remain an enemy of France until Napoleon's final defeat. I hope you enjoyed this episode, with a special thanks to my patrons: James Bizanet, Sky Chappelle, Kartoitska, Yuduan Wang, Anthony Beckett, YN Hockey, AF Firefly, Alex Schwinn, Captain Psydog, Gustav Swan, The McWhopper, Robert C. Perkins, The Flying Deutschland, Cardinal Blue, Rod D. Martin, Marvin Cassow, Spencer Lightfoot, Shuenin, Maggie Patskowski, Mirza Ahmed, Copper Tone, Michael Holbert, Castle Bravo, Spinning Three Plates, Andy McGeehee, Arthur Hosey Jr., Danny Atanasio, Camoon Yoon, Winston Kaywood, Remco Heusman, Jim Stromberg, Beck to Bot, Charles I, and Lord Beak.